The sound barely left her lips. Just one name. Tanner. The courtroom didn't breathe. Not the clerk. Not the bailiff. Not the woman in the second row who'd been knitting through the whole hearing. The girl didn't move. Didn't look up. Just stared straight ahead, like her own voice hadn't just scraped the air raw. "Say that again," the attorney asked, too fast. She blinked once. Her fingers stayed knotted in her lap. Mouth closed. Not even a twitch in her cheek. She said a name. The bailiff muttered, "Y'all heard that." "Clear the room," the judge said. Nobody moved. I said clear it. Chairs dragged. The knitting woman dropped her yarn. The girl didn't flinch. Her hair fell across one side of her face. That side had the burn scar, still red around the edge near her jaw. "She said Tanner," the sheriff murmured from the doorway. The attorney turned. "What?" "I said she said Tanner, her father's name. She hasn't spoken in 14 years. The sheriff's eyes didn't leave the girl. "That don't mean she forgot." The judge stood slowly. "Let's take a recess." "She's still under oath," the attorney snapped. "She whispered a name, not a confession." "Sounds like a statement to me." The girl looked down at her hands. Her thumbs moved, rubbing over each other like they weren't sure who they belonged to. The sheriff stepped forward. "She don't talk to pressure. Never did." "You saying we imagined it?" "I'm saying, don't push her. She came here to testify. She came because you subpoenaed her. She came because someone set that fire." "Not today," the judge warned. "Not like this." The courtroom emptied slow, people turning back every few steps like maybe she'd speak again. She didn't. Just sat, still, silent. The deputy lingered near the door. "Should I take her home?" "She's not done," the judge said. "She looked done to me." "Give her a minute." They waited. She didn't move. The sheriff walked down the center aisle. His boots hit each board like he knew which ones creaked. He stopped one step short of the stand. "Hey." She didn't look. "You remember me?" Her eyes flicked sideways just once. "I used to bring your daddy black coffee in the morning." Nothing. "You'd sit behind the desk and try to write your name on his blotter pad." Still nothing. "Always skipped the middle A." She blinked slow. "You tried to speak once. After it happened." She didn't nod, but her shoulders tensed. "You screamed his name." A pause. One breath. "That sound stuck with me," he said. The judge cleared his throat. "Sheriff, if you're done." "I'm not." She looked up. Just once. "You got something to say," the sheriff said. "Say it to me." She turned her head, fully now, looked at him like she hadn't since she was 7. Not scared, not angry, just tired. "Tanner," she whispered again. That time, only the sheriff heard it. He stepped back. "She's done for today." The attorney started to object. "She's done," the sheriff said again. "She just gave us a lead. She gave us a wound." "You still protecting him?" "I'm protecting her." She named him. She remembered him. The judge tapped the gavel once, soft. "That's enough. She's a witness. She's his daughter." The girl stood slowly. No one moved to help her. She walked past the attorney like he was glass, stepped down from the stand. The wood creaked under her bare heel. She hadn't worn shoes. No one told her she had to. At the door, she stopped. "She never saw the body," the sheriff said quietly. "What?" "Her daddy's body. They never found it." That was ruled accidental. Ruled fast. Too fast. She's pointing at something. Or remembering wrong. You think she's lying. I think memory bends under heat. The girl pushed open the door. Light spilled in. She paused in it, shadow across half her face, then walked out without looking back. The deputy stepped up. "She going home?" "She'll go where the silence takes her." The judge wiped his forehead. "Lord." The attorney shook his head. "This changes everything." "Not yet," the sheriff said. "She broke silence. That means something. It means she's bleeding in a place you can't patch. She whispered his name." "I know." "You gonna act on it?" The sheriff didn't answer. Outside, the courthouse steps baked in the sun. The girl sat on the third one down, elbows on her knees, staring at the crack between stones. The dog showed up then. The old one, Tanner's mutt, gone for years. Thin now, gray. It walked slow, sat beside her, didn't touch her, just sat. She didn't look at it, but her fingers moved again, not shaking. Just slow. The dog leaned slightly toward her, then stopped. Inside, the judge leaned forward. You believe her? The sheriff said nothing. You're shaking. I'm remembering. What part? His voice. You think he's still alive? I think she heard something none of us did. And you. The sheriff looked out the window. I heard it too. She used to scream his name. The old woman's voice carried just enough to catch on the breeze by the courthouse door. She didn't look at anyone. Just said it. Quiet. Like habit. A man beside her shifted. Not like that. No, she said. Not like that. The doors swung shut behind them. The courtroom emptied slow, like folks weren't sure they should leave yet. Like something had been cracked open they'd all worked real hard to keep sealed. The man lit a cigarette with a shake in his thumb. You were there, right? Fire took half the house, she said. She was still inside when the roof fell. Sheriff pulled her out. She screamed then too. No one believed her. Everyone heard her. He nodded once, eyes narrowed at the horizon like it might offer another version of that night. The girl walked past them, slow, same pace as before, still barefoot. The dog behind her, quiet as a shadow. The old woman turned slightly. She screamed that name over and over, she said, clawed the side of the sheriff's coat, blood under her nails. She was what, 7? 8. Thought she went mute right after. She did. The girl reached the end of the block, didn't look back. Across town behind the grain depot, 2 men moved crates under the tin roof. You hear what she said? Whispered it, they say. Still counts. One wiped his hands on his shirt. She used to scream it, loud enough to wake the whole street. Sheriff told us she was confused. Burned smoke'll do that to a kid. Still. They both paused. Something passed between them that neither put words to. Just wait. In the church hallway, 2 older women stood beside the corkboard. She was carried in here wrapped in someone's coat. Half her hair burned. Sheriff's coat. She screamed into it. Wouldn't stop. Then just stopped altogether. Shock. Or warning. She said his name like she was trying to put out a fire with it. That's not something a girl forgets. The other woman looked down. Or forgives. Back near the sheriff's old office, now turned over to storage, the deputy stood beside the back door, arms crossed. I remember the smell, he muttered. Wet ash and something sweeter. You were a rookie, said the clerk. Didn't even have a badge yet. I had a badge. Pinned, not sworn. She screamed Daddy, and then she screamed Tanner, like they were different men. The clerk said nothing. She didn't stop till she passed out. Sheriff said she was talking nonsense. You think she was? No. Me neither. The deputy flicked a pebble with his boot. He told us the fire was electrical. Whole breaker box was. Yanked. Wasn't no accident. No. The girl crossed behind the row of empty shops, hands at her sides. The old dog trotted close. She moved past boarded doors and sun-bleached signs without seeing them. Her eyes tracked only cracks in the ground. Outside the old gas station, a young man sat on the curb smoking. That her? Yeah. She really say it. Court record'll show it. I thought she couldn't talk. She can. The younger man stared at the sidewalk. You ever go near that house after? Once. What did it look like? Like someone put out a scream with gasoline. The girl turned the corner and disappeared behind the butcher's. Out at the edge of town, the woman with the scar on her cheek stood by the clothesline. Her daughter ran up, breathless. She said his name. The woman didn't stop pinning the shirt. Everyone's talking about it, the girl said. She didn't say anything new. She said it different. That's not the same as truth. She said Tanner like she meant it. The woman looked up, clothespin still in hand. She meant it that night too, she said. The girl blinked. You were there? I held her after, in the back room of the clinic. She was shaking like she had cold water in her bones. What did she say then? Same name. And she said he told her not to scream. The clothespin dropped. The girl came to the edge of the woods, where the fence post was cracked and the path turned to dirt. The dog stopped. She kept walking. The trees didn't rustle. The sun didn't reach all the way down. Her feet pressed into dry leaves, like it was a place she already knew by heart. Behind the church, the sheriff stood with the judge. She's not done, the sheriff said. She said one word. She's not done. You think she's telling us something new? No, he said. I think she's remembering it right. And that scares you. Should scare you too. The judge shook his head. We closed the book on him. You buried the ashes, not the man. Still no proof. She's the proof. She's a child. Not anymore. The judge hesitated. If she talks again, she won't. How do you know? The sheriff's face hardened. She didn't speak for 14 years. When she did, she didn't cry. She didn't shake. She didn't even blink. You saying that means something. I'm saying it means she's not finished yet. In the woods, she stopped by an old stump. The bark was black, partially burned. She knelt, put her hand flat on the side. The dog whined behind her. She didn't turn. She whispered again. But this time, the wind took it. What fire? The judge asked. The sheriff didn't answer. He just leaned back in his chair, eyes unfocused, hand near his collar, like the air got thick. A moment passed, then another. No one spoke. Outside, the girl traced a finger along her scar. It pulled tight near her elbow. That part always stung when it rained. The smoke came fast that night, thick, bitter. Not wood, not oil. Something hotter, something that caught in the lungs before the nose. She was asleep, upstairs, floorboards creaking under something heavy. Then heat. She blinked and the room was orange. The corner curtains curled upward like they were reaching for the ceiling. Her mother wasn't there. She called out. No answer. The hallway was gone. Just flame. She didn't scream yet. She stood. Barefoot, she walked to the door. Heat blistered the knob. She didn't touch it. Someone yelled her name from downstairs. Then again. She stepped back. She turned toward the window. That's when she saw him. In the yard. Her father. Standing still. She pounded the glass. He didn't move. She yelled again. His mouth opened. Maybe a word. Maybe her name. Then he turned. She screamed. Not Daddy. Tanner. He walked. Not ran. Walked. The fire popped behind her. Floor sagged. Her voice cracked. She screamed his name again, louder, pulled her nails down the glass till they split. He didn't turn back. Then the window cracked. Behind her, the wall gave. Heat kissed the side of her face, blistered fast. She stumbled, fell against the dresser, glass shattered above. A mirror fell sideways. She crawled. The hallway returned. Part of it. Smoke covered everything like fog. A shadow came up the stairs. Not fast. Measured. Heavy boots. One at a time. She pressed herself to the wall. Didn't breathe. The shadow stopped outside the door. She blinked hard. The voice that called her name was different now. Calmer. Too calm. Come here. It wasn't a question. She didn't move. Come now. She opened her mouth. Said nothing. The boots stepped closer. Then a crash. The front door slammed inward. Voices. Real ones. Loud. Rushed. The shadow disappeared. She ran. The stairs were half burned. She fell the last 3. Caught her arm on something sharp. Blood joined smoke. Strong hands pulled her out. Through the heat. Into the air. The yard was full of people. None of them were him. She screamed again. Tanner. Over and over. Holding nothing. Gripping nothing. Screaming into her own empty palms. Someone wrapped her in a coat. She screamed into that too. At the courthouse, the sheriff said nothing. The judge leaned forward. You saw the report. I was there. She said he started it. She said his name. That's not the same. She screamed it like she was choking on it. And then stopped. For good. She never told you what she saw. She didn't have to. Why? The sheriff looked down. Because I already knew. Back then, they gathered at the edge of the burned-out shell. Men stood quiet. No one asked questions. No one wanted answers. Where's her mother? Someone finally said. Gone, another man answered. Fire took her. Must have. She don't remember? She don't speak. They watched the girl from a distance. She sat on a crate, wrapped in that coat. Hair half gone, hands bandaged, eyes not blinking. Sheriff came out of the ruins, black ash on his boots. Nothing left upstairs, he said. Basement? Sealed. Body? No. You think he got out? Probably. Ran. Maybe. You tell the girl? No. Why not? She already knows. The crate creaked under her. She didn't shift. The deputy leaned in. What do we say happened? The sheriff looked back at the house. Flames still hissed in the rafters. "Say it was faulty wire," he said. "And her mother?" "Gone before it started." "That true?" "Say it anyway." "She sat there till morning, didn't move, didn't cry. When the sun came up, she stood on her own, walked to the front step, stepped over the char, reached down, picked up the badge. It had fallen in the mud, face down, still warm. She looked at it a long time, then dropped it. Back in the present, the judge rubbed his forehead. "You covered for him." "I didn't know for sure." "You said you did." "I suspected." "That's not the same." The sheriff didn't answer. In the hallway, the girl stood by the wall, hand against the wood, scar side pressed to the cool paint. The deputy approached. "You okay?" She didn't turn. "You remember what happened?" No answer. "Why now? Why speak today?" She blinked. "I just need to know," he said. She looked at him, held up her palm. There, in the center, was a fresh mark, a blister, red, shaped like a badge. She said nothing. The dog sat beside her, eyes forward, ears flat. Across the hall, the fire alarm test went off, a sharp beep. She didn't flinch. She just turned her hand over, opened her fingers. "Empty. You brought her in, now you want to muzzle her?" The attorney slammed a folder onto the table. Pages slipped loose, spread like cards. The judge didn't blink. She spoke one word. The sheriff said, "She named him." She remembered him. Same thing. "No, it's not. She's on the record. She's a girl who almost burned alive. She's also the only living person tied to that house the night it went down." The mayor entered, brushing dust off his sleeve. "What's going on here?" "Legal circus," the sheriff muttered. "She's our only witness," the attorney snapped. "She's not a witness," the sheriff said. "You said she remembered." "I said she whispered his name." "Same thing." "It's not." The mayor looked between them. "You telling me she didn't say it?" "I'm telling you she didn't say anything else." "She doesn't need to. She needs protection." The attorney laughed once. "From what?" "Memory. From men like you." The judge raised a hand. "We'll reconvene in the morning." The attorney leaned in. "We don't wait." "She's not a machine," the sheriff said. "She spoke once. That took everything. She's been silent for 14 years. That courtroom cracked her open. We press now, we get the truth. Or break her for good. She came here. She sat on that stand. She followed a summons. She didn't run. She shouldn't have to." The mayor cleared his throat. "I don't care if she speaks or not. I care if Tanner's still alive." The sheriff looked at him. "You afraid?" The mayor didn't answer. "She names him, that's fine. You start asking why she didn't do it sooner, we got a problem." "She's a key," the attorney said. "She opens the door." "She ain't a key." "Then what is she?" The sheriff stood. "She's the one who got left inside while the rest of us stood out watching." The mayor crossed his arms. "If Tanner's alive, if he lit that house, he lit it. Then we follow the smoke. She's not your trail marker." The judge gathered the papers. "Enough." The attorney reached for his briefcase. "I'll file for deposition." "You'll wait," the sheriff said. "You don't outrank me anymore." "I don't need to." Outside, the girl sat on the courthouse bench, legs drawn in, the dog curled beside her feet. A woman approached slowly. "You all right, honey?" No response. "You want some water?" The girl turned slightly, not toward the voice, toward the breeze. The woman sat beside her. "My boy went quiet after the flood. Took years. He speaks now. Not much, but it's enough." The girl looked at her. "You said Tanner's name," the woman whispered. "That's enough for today." The dog stretched, yawned, rested its head again. Inside, the mayor paced. "What happens if she talks again?" "She won't," the sheriff said. "You think that whisper was it?" "I think it was more than enough." The attorney looked up. "So we just let it hang." "We let her breathe." She cracked the case open. She cracked herself open. She saw something. She lived something. The judge scribbled a note. "We push her, we lose her." The mayor stopped pacing. "Town's watching. Town's waiting," the sheriff corrected. "For what?" "For her to give them permission to remember what they ignored," the attorney scoffed. "You're treating her like a prophet." "I'm treating her like someone who survived." The mayor nodded once. "What about the badge?" The sheriff didn't answer. "You dug it up." "No." "Someone did." "Not me." Why's it charred? You tell me. Symbolic? Maybe. Or planted. I don't know. The judge looked up. What's in your gut, Sheriff? The room went still. He's not dead, the sheriff said. The mayor sighed. So she's not wrong. She's not a liar. She's his daughter. She's also the one he left to burn. The attorney checked his watch. I want her on record by noon tomorrow. The sheriff stepped forward. You touch her again, I swear. What? She's not your witness. Then what is she? She's the line between what we remember and what we choose to forget. Outside, the girl stood. The dog followed. She walked toward the edge of town, past the diner, past the old grain mill. No one stopped her. A few watched. One nodded. At the edge of the trail, she paused. There, beside the first fence post, someone had tied a ribbon, faded red. She touched it once, let her fingers fall. The wind shifted. The sheriff stepped out of the building and saw her. She going somewhere? She's already somewhere, the judge said behind him. The mayor crossed the lot. You gonna follow her? No. Why not? She don't need a shadow. She needs safety. She's never had that. Then give it to her. The sheriff walked back inside. The attorney stood in the hallway, talking low. She's the key, he whispered, whether she likes it or not. A man leaned against the far wall. That how you treat your own daughter? The attorney turned. I don't have one. Lucky for her. Outside, the girl stepped into the woods. The dog stopped at the edge. She didn't. She kept walking, shoes still off, hands still quiet, mouth closed. No sound, but the scar on her palm burned warm, like someone had whispered something back. She stood at the window, bare arms against the sill. Scar side lit faint by the morning. The dog lay by the door, head on its paws, unmoving. Out back, the dirt behind the barn was still unsettled, like someone had been there before dawn. Not fresh dug, but scraped, like a hand dragged something out slow, not wanting to make noise. She stared at the spot. Didn't blink. The curtain twitched behind her as the wind rose, then dropped again. Still. The metal caught light first, rusted edge, half circle, something just below the grass line. She moved from the window, quiet steps on bare floor, down the hallway, through the back door. Dog stayed where it was. She reached the patch, looked down, didn't kneel, didn't touch. The badge was turned face up, half out of the dirt. The curve of the sheriff's star blackened along one edge, melted at the corner. The name scratched deep. Tanner. Still visible. A voice came from behind her. That yours? She didn't turn. I said, that yours? She turned slowly. The boy stood near the woodpile. 17, maybe 18. Work shirt. Dust on his cuffs. You live here now? He asked. She didn't answer. Used to be folks kept this barn locked. Still nothing. He stepped closer. Did you dig that up? She shook her head once. You sure? She nodded. He squinted. Looks like it got burned. Her eyes went to the ground again. Was it his? She didn't move. You ever wear it? She looked up. He flinched a little. Sorry. She walked past him, into the barn, left the door open. He watched her disappear into shadow, then looked down at the badge again. He didn't touch it either. Inside the barn, she sat on the floor near the hay bales, hands in her lap, breathing even. The old floor groaned as someone else stepped in. You saw it? The sheriff asked. She looked toward the door. Did you dig it? She shook her head. Who did? Silence. You saw who? Nothing. You know what it means. She turned away. It wasn't buried deep. Still nothing. He stepped inside. Someone wanted you to find it. She pulled her knees in. You think it's a warning? She didn't nod. Didn't shake her head. I haven't seen that badge since the fire. Her eyes dropped. I figured it melted, like everything else. He stepped closer. It didn't. She didn't respond. You remember the last time he wore it? She didn't look up. He didn't take it off, even when he slept. Her lip trembled barely. You know what he said about the badge? Still nothing. He said it made folks tell the truth. She stood. He watched her brush hay from her skirt. He was wrong, she said softly. The sheriff froze. You remember his voice? She didn't answer. I do. She walked out of the barn. The wind had picked up. The ribbon on the fence post flapped once, then settled. She walked to the badge, looked at it again. The boy was gone. She knelt, dug her fingers under it, pulled it from the soil. The metal left a dark stain in her palm. The dog barked once from the house. She didn't flinch. The sheriff stepped out. "You gonna keep it?" She turned it in her hand. "He wore that on his chest the day he said your mama ran off." She looked at him. I didn't believe him then either. She stood, held it out. He didn't take it. "I can't," he said. She set it on the porch rail, flat, facing up, walked back inside. The sheriff picked it up after she was gone, held it between two fingers. The corner cut his thumb. He didn't bleed. He walked around the side of the barn looking at the scrape marks. They were too straight, purposeful, not random, the kind of lines a man makes when he doesn't want to be seen, but wants to be remembered. He looked up at the trees, then back at the porch. She was in the window again, watching. He held up the badge. She didn't move. He turned, walked to his truck, set the badge on the dashboard, didn't start the engine, just sat. Back inside, she moved from the window to the table. The Bible was still there, the one with the sewn pages. She flipped to the back cover, ran her finger along the stitching, cut it open with the edge of her nail. A piece of paper slid out, folded 4 times, yellowed, thin. She opened it. Her name, written twice, once in a shaky hand, once in block letters. Below that, a line of numbers. Below that, a sentence. "I'm sorry for what I told her." She folded it again, set it under the bowl on the counter, walked to the sink, let the water run over her hands. Outside, the wind changed. The badge on the sheriff's dash slid forward, clinking once against the glass. He didn't look up. The dog stood, walked to the door, waited. She turned off the tap, dried her hands on her shirt. The scar still showed. She didn't cover it. "I kept this from you long enough." The woman stepped onto the porch, slow, like her legs weren't sure about the boards. She held the bundle in both hands. The linen was yellowed, folded tight. The girl didn't open the door. She stood behind the screen, watched. The woman shifted her grip. "It was your mama's." Still nothing from inside. "I found it the night after, half buried behind the dresser." The dog walked to the threshold, stared. "I thought maybe it wasn't meant for anyone to see." The girl's fingers rested on the edge of the screen. The woman laid the bundle on the top step. She sewed the pages shut. The screen creaked open. The woman didn't move. "She stitched it herself," she said. "Tiny black thread, tight enough it looked printed." The girl stepped out, picked up the bundle, didn't speak. The woman turned to leave. She marked a page. The woman added, "With blood, I think." The girl didn't flinch. She underlined something. "What?" The woman paused. "I didn't read it all." "You looked." "I'm not proud of that." The girl walked back inside, didn't close the door. The dog sat just outside it. At the table, she unwrapped the cloth. The Bible lay there, brown leather, cracked, corners curled, stitching across the edges, black and sharp, running through the middle third like it had been patched by a hand that couldn't stop shaking. She opened the front cover. Her mother's name was inside. Ink faded. The next several pages fell free. Then she hit the sewn part. It held tight. She ran a finger along the stitches. They pulled like wire. Her nail caught on the edge. She stood, walked to the drawer, pulled the knife. The blade slid clean between 2 threads. Snapped one, then the next. She didn't rush. The dog watched. She kept cutting. When the final thread gave, the pages opened slow, sticky. She flipped until she saw it. The mark, a thick underline, jagged, red, right through a passage at the bottom of the right page. She read it once, then again. She sat back hard in the chair. The dog whined low. She looked toward the window. The sheriff's truck was still parked under the tree. She walked out. He stepped out before she reached the door. "What is it?" She held the Bible up. He looked at it. "Where'd you get that?" "She brought it." He nodded once. "Your mother's?" She nodded. "What's inside?" She opened it, showed him the passage. He read it, frowned. "You think that's her blood?" She looked at him. "Right," he said. "Don't matter. She stitched it herself. She trying to hide it or save it?" "I don't know." He rubbed the back of his neck. "What's it mean to you?" "It means she knew." He stared at her. "She wrote my name under it." He took the Bible, flipped to the back. Her name, scrawled, next to the same verse, repeated, this one in shaky hand. She was scared, he said. She was saying goodbye. Or leaving a map. She didn't leave anything else. Maybe she thought that was enough. The girl walked to the edge of the porch. The sheriff followed. You believe she's gone? He didn't answer. She didn't run. No. She didn't leave me. No. She didn't burn in that fire. He looked at her. Why do you say that? She wasn't in the ashes. That don't mean she was gone before it started. He nodded slowly. She knew he was going to do it, she said. She tried to stop him. He stopped her. The sheriff gripped the railing. You sure? She underlined the same verse twice. You think it's a clue? I think it's a warning. He stared down the road. He made sure no one looked for her. The girl stepped off the porch, walked to the old tree stump, the place where her mother's chair used to sit. The grass around it was still short, still dry. The sheriff walked up behind her. You think she's buried here? No. Then why come here? She used to sit here and sing. He nodded. Always the same line, she said. Which one? She never got past it. He looked back toward the Bible in his hand, flipped to the passage again. He read it under his breath. She finished it for him. That's the line she sang. They stood in silence. Then she spoke again. He took her voice first. He looked at her. Then mine. She turned to face him. I want to see the report. What report? The one you filed. It's gone. You kept a copy. He paused. Yeah. Bring it. He hesitated. I want to see what you wrote about him. He nodded. All right. She stepped back inside, closed the door. He stayed a minute longer, looked down at the stump, then at the horizon. He opened the Bible again, ran his finger along the underline. The blood had dried into the paper. It would never fade. She walked barefoot down the side road past the mill. Dust stuck to her feet. Crickets thinned. The trees on either side leaned in like they remembered something they couldn't say out loud. Something moved up ahead. She slowed. 2 yellow eyes caught the light. Then a low sound. Half growl, half breath. She didn't stop. The dog stepped out from behind the ditch. Big, thin, ears slack. Same one from the courthouse. Older now. Scar down its side. It growled again, not loud. She kept walking. It didn't move. She passed within 10 feet. It turned its head, watched her. She didn't look back. The dog followed. 4 paces behind. Slow, no noise. She stepped around a patch of glass. It did too. She cut through the old yard by the fence post, the one where the ribbon hung. The dog paused there, sniffed once. Saturday. She stopped, turned her head slightly. It stared back. She waited. It didn't move. She kept going. Behind the barn, the badge still sat on the porch rail. Blackened, crooked edge. She walked past it. The dog didn't. It walked up, sniffed it, sat again. She opened the door. It stayed outside. She turned. Come in. It didn't. She watched it for a long time, then stepped back, left the door open. In the morning, it was gone. She found tracks, big ones, circling the barn, then leading into the woods. No prints near the porch. She walked into town, shoeless. People stared but didn't speak. At the diner, the mayor was sipping coffee. The sheriff joined him, sat without a word. You hear about the dog? The mayor asked. What dog? Tanner's. Heard it came back. You believe that? Don't need to. You think it remembers. Dogs remember what matters. She feeding it? She's not scared of it. She should be. The sheriff sipped. She walks around like she owns this town. She walks like someone who survived it. You think it's following her? I think it's waiting. For what? For her to speak again. That night, the dog came back. She saw its eyes first, near the old well. It didn't growl this time. She walked toward it. It stepped back. She knelt. Didn't reach. It sniffed the dirt. She said one word. Sit. It didn't. She stood, turned, walked toward the stump where her mama used to sing. It followed. No command. Just shadow. The sheriff stood across the road watching from the tree line. He didn't speak. The girl sat on the stump. The dog lay down beside it. She looked at the sheriff. That his dog? Was. What's its name? Didn't have one. Why not? He said dogs don't need names, just orders. She looked down. You agree? No. He ever hit it? Never. She didn't reply. He stepped closer. You okay with it here? He's not it. You sure? She nodded. You fed him? No. He follow you? When he wants. The sheriff crouched, looked at the dog. You remember me? The dog blinked. Used to bring you scraps. The dog stood, walked toward the sheriff, stopped halfway. The girl watched. The dog turned, walked back to her, laid down again. The sheriff stood. He picked his side. She nodded. The sheriff looked at the well. You ever hear what they said about that place? No. That he buried something down there. She looked at it. They checked once, he said. Didn't look deep enough. You think something's there? I think it wants to be found. He glanced at the dog. You trust him? I don't give orders. He trusts you. She stood, walked back to the porch. The dog followed. The sheriff stayed at the well. Looked down. No sound, no smell. Just quiet. At dawn, the dog sat by the window. She opened it. Didn't say a word. He laid down under it. Stayed till sundown. The next day, he followed her all the way to the edge of town. Didn't bark. Didn't break stride. Kids whispered. Old folks watched from porches. No one stopped her. She passed the courthouse. Stopped at the old school building. He sat beside the steps. She knocked once. No one answered. She walked around back. He waited. She didn't speak. Didn't touch. He followed. Back to the house. Back to the porch. Back to the window. He didn't need telling. He was already home. The kettle whistled. Neither of them moved. The girl sat with her hands folded. The sheriff's widow across from her, stiff in her chair, boots muddy at the heel. The dog rested between them on the floor, ears flat, head down. You came to ask, didn't you? The girl said. The widow didn't nod, didn't blink. You didn't come for tea. Still silence. The kettle kept crying. The girl stood, turned off the stove, left the kettle where it was. The widow watched her. I used to hear it too. The girl said. The whistle. Louder at night. Worse when it's left to boil. The widow pulled a folded cloth from her coat pocket, laid it on the table. The girl sat again. You gonna open it? No. Why bring it? So you know I still have it. The girl didn't look at the cloth. It's his, isn't it? The widow's fingers curled. He never took it off. What is it? Button from his uniform, burned black, still smells like ash. The girl's eyes dropped. Found it in the corner of our closet, under his boots, weeks after the fire. You think he came back? I know he did. The dog let out a slow breath. He smelled like smoke, the widow said. When? After the funeral. You told anyone? No. Why? I was scared of what I'd believe if I said it out loud. You believe it now? The widow nodded. I always did. The girl leaned forward. Why'd you stay? He told me not to leave. You listened? He said he'd find me if I did. The girl's hands tightened on her knees. I saw what he did, the widow said. The girl looked at her. Not the fire. Before. The air felt heavier. I saw the bruises on your mama's arms. The girl stared. He told me she fell. The girl stayed still. He said she got clumsy. She wasn't, the girl said. No. The widow reached for the cloth, held it in her palm. I asked her once, you know, at the store, quiet, away from folks. What did she say? She didn't answer. She couldn't. I think she wanted to. The girl leaned back. He came home that night, the widow said. Said she'd been crying. She cried a lot, the girl said. She smiled when you were around. I never saw that. He made sure you didn't. The dog shifted its weight. The widow placed the cloth back on the table, didn't unfold it. You want to know what I saw that night? No. You should. I already know. I saw him carry something out the back. The girl looked up, wrapped in a blanket, heavy, too heavy for a body. Then what was it? I don't know, but he buried it. Where? I'm not sure. Somewhere past the creek. He left before sunrise, came back with dirt on his hands and told me not to ask. You asked anyway. Once. What did he say? He said if I ever asked again, he'd bury me next. The girl stood. You believe he killed her? Yes. You believe he meant to kill me too? The widow didn't answer. The girl stepped to the window. The sun was gone. Trees shadowed the yard. Why now? She asked. What? Why come now? You're not a child anymore. I wasn't a child then. The widow looked down. I came because I was wrong to stay quiet. You're still quiet. I'm here. The girl turned. And I'll testify. You think that helps? It helps me. Too late for that. The kettle clicked as it cooled. The girl picked up the cloth, unfolded it. The button inside was small, blackened, edges warped. She held it between two fingers. It still smells like him, the widow said. The girl nodded. She carried it to the stove, set it near the edge. I should have stopped him, the widow said. You watched. I was afraid. You weren't the only one. The widow stood. He hurt you? Yes. Your mama? Yes. The widow stepped toward the door. I wanted to forget. You can't. I know. You still hear him? Sometimes in the pipes, in the hall at night. Me too. The widow hesitated. You gonna speak again? The girl didn't answer. He's still out there. I know. And you're waiting. Yes. The widow looked back once before leaving. Don't wait too long. The door closed behind her. The girl turned off the light, sat at the table, picked up the button again. The dog whined. She whispered something only it could hear, then dropped the button in a glass of water, watched it sink. She walked into the church hall holding a folded piece of paper. Didn't speak, didn't look at anyone. The dog followed close behind, quiet, tail low. She stopped at the corkboard near the entrance, the one where potluck notices used to go. Wedding announcements, missing tools, lost cats. She pinned it dead center. 4 letters. Well. People stared, but didn't speak. The paper hung still. She turned, walked past the rows of folding chairs. The dog waited at the back. Didn't sit, just watched. An old man by the piano cleared his throat. That means something. A woman beside him whispered, It's a place. Another said, It's a name. No, someone else said, It's where he put things. The girl sat near the front, hands folded, eyes on nothing. The sheriff walked in late, saw the paper, paused. He read it, looked toward her. She didn't move. He joined the others near the back. She just put it up. Didn't say a word. She don't need to. The preacher came in from the side door. What's all this? Nobody answered. He read the paper. Well? Still nothing. She pointing at something? He asked. She's pointing at all of us, the sheriff said. The room shifted. A woman by the window stood. I remember the cellar door always being locked, said it was rotting. A man near the podium nodded. He told me not to touch the porch steps, said they'd break different. Someone whispered, I saw bruises. She had one right here, neck to collarbone. Thought she fell. She didn't. The girl stayed still. I heard him yelling. 2 nights before the fire, a woman said. Sounded like furniture moved. Sounded like someone got hit. I saw the sheriff bring him moonshine. I saw him hand out warnings, told folks to stay off his property. I delivered eggs. Once. She answered the door. Lip split. I asked if she was okay. She said nothing. She looked down. I looked away. A long pause. The sheriff stepped forward. I went there once, asked why the lights were still on past midnight. What did he say? He said he was fixing something. You believe him? No. Why'd you walk away? He told me to. The girl looked up. You didn't check the well, she said. The room froze. You saw what was happening. You all did. You didn't look. The preacher stepped forward. We weren't sure. You were. A man said, It wasn't our place. It was, she said. Another woman whispered, She's right. The girl stood, walked back to the corkboard, pulled the paper down, flipped it, wrote again, held it up. Dead. She pinned it back. Someone gasped. The preacher stepped back. Who? She didn't answer. The sheriff walked to her. You sure? She nodded. It's down there. She nodded again. Who? She looked around the room, then pointed. At no one. At all of them. You let him do it, she said. The preacher whispered, What did we bury? She answered without moving. My mother. The woman by the window sat hard. No one breathed. The sheriff looked at the floor. She's still there? He asked. The girl nodded. How long? Since before the fire. You're sure? I heard her. You saw? She tapped. A man said, I heard knocking once. Thought it was the pipes. Thought it was the wind. I knew it wasn't. The preacher's voice broke. Lord have mercy. No, the girl said. He won't. The dog barked once, sharp, then quiet. The sheriff walked to the door. We dig tonight. Someone said, shouldn't we call the city? No. Why not? They already know. The room shifted again. You telling me this whole time they filed it away, the sheriff said. Years back. Told me the report got wet, lost. Told me the sheriff's name didn't need dragging through the mud. You believe them? No. Then why? I stopped asking. The girl looked at him. He met her eyes. I was scared of what I'd find. You weren't the only one, she said. I know. He walked out. The dog followed. The girl stayed. The preacher stepped to the corkboard. Touched the paper, said nothing. One by one, the rest followed. No one tore it down. He told me not to drink from it. She stood near the edge of the dried-up well, boots off, soles dusty. The grass around it had thinned into brittle rings. Dog sat behind her, tail still, head low. 3 men stood across from her. One held a flashlight. Another gripped a clipboard he hadn't written on yet. The third wiped sweat off his lip with the back of his hand, eyes locked on the dark circle. He say why? The one with the light asked. She didn't answer. The man with the clipboard leaned closer. When was the last time anyone opened it? After the fire, she said. They said it was dry. Told them it wasn't. The third man stepped closer. Smells like rot. It always did, she said. The sheriff appeared from the tree line. We ready? The girl nodded once. He knelt by the edge, shined his own light down. Nothing reflected. Ropes frayed, he said. The man with the clipboard whispered, Jesus. You brought gloves, the sheriff asked. We didn't think. You should have. The girl stepped forward, held out a coil of nylon line. Use this. The sheriff took it, tied it to a rusted hook bolted into the well's stone lip. The dog growled low. The flashlight man volunteered first, legs shaking, lowered slowly. It took 3 minutes. Then the shout came. Get down here. What is it? The clipboard man called. Just get down here. The second man descended, less steady, more pale. The third stayed up top, face turned away. The girl didn't move. From below, the flashlight flicked twice. Then silence. The sheriff called out, You all right? The second man shouted back, You're gonna want to see this. The sheriff lowered himself down. A long pause, then a cough, then gagging, then silence again. The girl sat on the edge of the well, legs crossed. The third man stepped back. After a long while, the sheriff reappeared, hands covered in soil and something darker. He didn't speak. The flashlight man climbed next, face green. He walked behind the shed and vomited. The second man surfaced, pale, mouth tight. He whispered to the third, Bones. The girl looked up. Whose? She asked. He didn't speak. Whose? The sheriff said, There's more than one. The girl stood. There's a name, the second man said. Where? Carved. The sheriff held up the flashlight again, inside the stone, near the base. Took my hand to feel it. Letters dug in rough. What name? She asked. The men hesitated. The sheriff said it. Tanner. She didn't blink. You carved it? The third man asked. No. Who did? The one who put her there, she said. The second man looked at the sheriff. How long do you think? He shook his head. Too long. The clipboard man finally started writing. How many bodies? He asked. The flashlight man answered. 2, one smaller, child-sized. The girl turned away. The dog stood. They'll need dental records, the sheriff said. The girl whispered, You won't find any. What? She pulled her own teeth. The men stared. She told me once, said he made her. The flashlight man whispered, God. The girl crouched beside the well, picked up a small stone, rubbed it between her fingers. We'll need to secure the area, the clipboard man said. No tape, she said. Miss. No tape, no signs, no vans. The sheriff stepped toward her. They'll do it clean. No cameras, he nodded. Okay, don't take her from here. We won't. She dropped the stone. When they pull her up, she said, You call me. I will. The sheriff turned to the others. We don't speak her name till she's out. Understood? The men nodded. He looked at the girl. You know whose bones they are? Yes. You saw it happen? No. Then how? She stopped singing. The dog walked ahead of her as she left. None of them followed. Back in town, the mayor heard before nightfall. He knocked on the sheriff's door. "You lied to us," he said. "I did. You said the well was clean. I said it was empty." "You knew." "I suspected." The mayor's hand trembled. "He carved his own name?" "No." "Then who?" The sheriff didn't answer. The mayor stepped back. "You protected him." "I protected what was left of her." "She was a child." "I know." The girl walked past the sheriff's house without looking in. He stepped out. "They're sending someone." "When?" "Tomorrow." She kept walking. "They'll ask for statements." "I already gave mine." The dog barked once. Low. The sheriff said, "I'm sorry." She stopped. "You should be," she said, then kept walking. The dog sniffed under the old schoolhouse stairs, slow and low, nose pressed to dirt, tail stiff. It let out a short, dry bark, then another. She stood behind it, one hand around a matchbox, the other clutching her coat shut. She didn't speak, just watched the dog scratch once, twice, then sit back on its haunches and stare. There was no wind. She crouched, ran, her fingers along the side of the stairs. Wood flaked off under her touch. She pressed harder, heard it, hollow. She stood, slid the matchbox into her pocket, and stepped back. The sheriff came from behind the chapel fence, boots dragging. "You sure?" She didn't answer. The dog barked again, loud this time. The sheriff pulled off his gloves. "Heard a story once. Said he died in that fire. You believe it?" "No." "You knew he was still here?" "I felt it." He nodded. "They said he ran, said he crossed the ridge and fell in with drifters." "He didn't run." The sheriff looked at the foundation. "This used to be the boiler room, years back, before they bricked it." She looked at him. "Who bricked it?" "Judge signed off." "Why?" "Fire codes." She walked up to the side wall, tapped twice, then waited. The sheriff didn't move. From inside, they heard it, a cough, short, wet, close. She didn't flinch. The sheriff whispered, "You ready?" She pulled the badge from her coat, held it up. "Always." They walked around to the rear door. Locked. The sheriff kicked low. The frame cracked. Second try gave it. Inside, the air was cold, stale, like wood that forgot how to breathe. The dog went first, nose down, then to the right. They followed. The boards creaked under her weight, but she didn't slow. The sheriff pointed to the trap door near the old janitor's closet. "Was sealed last time I checked." "Still is?" He bent down, ran his hand along the edge. "Nope." She stepped forward, placed the badge on the floor beside the latch. "You open it," she said. He hesitated. "You said you'd finish what you didn't do." He pulled. The door groaned. Below, black, stairs, narrow, wooden, a cough again, louder. "You armed?" she asked. "No." "Good." She went first. The light dimmed fast. The smell changed. Earth, mold, something else. She didn't stop. Halfway down, she heard a voice. "You brought it back." She stopped. The sheriff stiffened behind her. "You hear that?" she asked. He nodded. She reached the bottom. It wasn't a room. It was a hollow. Dirt walls, a cot, a bucket, a table, and him. He sat in the corner, knees drawn up, blanket around his shoulders, gray in the beard, thin, pale. "Tanner," the sheriff said. He looked up. "You shouldn't have come." Tanner said, "You're supposed to be dead." "I am." The girl stepped forward. He blinked. "You've grown," he said. She didn't speak. "I thought you died in the fire." She walked closer, held the badge in front of her. He smiled. "Still carrying that?" She didn't answer. The sheriff stepped between them. "You faked it." "No," Tanner said. "I burned the house. Figured that'd be enough." "And the well?" Tanner looked down. "She was going to leave," he said. "So you buried her," the sheriff said. "She took something from me. She was trying to protect her child." Tanner looked at the girl. "You never spoke. I screamed your name. You remember? Every time you told me not to." He rubbed his face. "You were never supposed to find me." She stepped closer. "You had help," she said. He didn't reply. "Judge signed the wall. Who else?" He looked at the floor. "You kept them quiet." "They owed me." She took the matchbox from her pocket. He stared at it. "You're gonna burn me?" "No." "Then what?" "I'm gonna show them what rots in silence." He laughed once. Cough followed. "You came here for revenge?" "No." "Then why?" to see if your face still looked the same. Does it? No. The sheriff pulled a chair from the wall. Saturday. You plan to die here? I was already dead. You didn't bury yourself. Tanner stared at the dog. He still listens. No, the girl said. He follows. That's so. He follows what's honest. Tanner nodded slowly. I was honest once. No, she said. You were in charge. He smiled, weak. You came all this way, just to tell me that? No, she said. She stepped forward, set the badge on the floor at his feet, then lit a match, held it. He watched the flame. You remember your last words to me? She asked. He shook his head. You said, don't speak, they won't believe you anyway. She dropped the match. It burned out before it touched anything. I believe me now, she said. Tanner coughed. You gonna kill me? No. I deserve it. Yes. She looked at the sheriff. Go get them. He stood, walked up the stairs, left her with him. He closed his eyes. You came out of the fire, he said. Yes. I thought I'd see your mama again. You won't. Why not? She forgave you. I didn't. He turned his head. The badge still sat at his feet. He didn't touch it. She walked to the stairs. Paused. You know what silence really is? She asked. He didn't answer. It's not grief. It's survival. She climbed the stairs. The dog followed, the trapdoor shut. Behind them, outside, the wind picked up. The sheriff was waiting with 2 deputies and a woman from town council. They'll take him. They'll take what's left. Alive. For now. The dog barked once, looked back at the door, then forward. They walked into town. No one said a word. She didn't need to. The courtroom door opened slow. Hinges dragged like they knew what was coming. The girl walked in alone. No coat, no paper, no bag. The dog didn't follow. It waited just outside, sat quiet by the step. She stopped at the center aisle. All eyes turned. She didn't speak yet, didn't look at the judge, or the rows of men who once called her silent. She walked to the stand, sat down, hands folded, elbows in. The clerk asked, "Full name?" She didn't answer. The judge looked up. The sheriff entered through the side door, stood behind the last row, didn't sit. "You can begin when ready," the judge said. She raised her chin. Tanner. One word, no stutter, no tremble. The clerk's pen stopped moving. The preacher dropped his gaze. Someone whispered, "Again?" She looked straight at the jury rail. Her mouth moved once more. Tanner. Clearer. Louder. The same way she'd said it as a child, in smoke, in blood, in heat. The judge leaned back. "Let the record show." "He's mine," she said. "By name, not by choice." The room didn't breathe. "You're sure?" "Yes." "You've said it before." "I whispered it. This time I mean it." The judge nodded once. "You want to testify?" "No." "You're under oath." "I'm not here to explain." "Then what?" "I'm here to end it." The attorney stood. "Can we question the witness?" "She's not a witness," the sheriff said from the back. "She's on the stand." "She's the reason it's still standing." The attorney looked to the judge. "Proceed carefully," the judge said. The attorney stepped forward. "You say you remember him." "I never forgot." "You say he's alive?" "I saw him." "Describe him." "Thin, gray, small." "You expected him to be different." "I expected him to be gone." "He didn't speak." "He spoke." "What did he say?" "He asked if I came for revenge." "And did you?" "No." "Then why show up?" "To show them he wasn't the only one left." The attorney circled. "You're telling us the man in custody is your father?" "Yes." "You swear?" "I do." "And what do you want done?" She didn't answer. "What do you want?" he repeated. "Conviction. Of. Him. For. Everything." The attorney nodded. "You'll put that on record?" "I just did." He looked at the judge. "No further questions." She stood. The judge said, "You may be dismissed." She didn't leave. "You have more?" he asked. She turned toward the front row. Half of them had stopped looking at her. Half couldn't stop. "You said I was quiet," she said. "You said I didn't speak. So it didn't count." No one answered. "You all heard him yell. You all saw her bruises. You all watched our house burn and called it a storm." The sheriff dropped his head. "I screamed his name back then. You said I was confused. You said a girl didn't know what words meant. The judge opened his mouth, closed it again. Well, now I do, she said. She stepped down, walked to the center of the room, stood at the line between bench and floor. He carved his name in the stone so no one else would have to, and you let it sit there. The preacher wept into his hand. The mayor didn't move. The dog barked once outside. Sharp, then nothing. She turned to the jury. You think this is justice? One woman nodded. Then you've never tasted silence. The girl walked out. No one followed. At the courthouse steps, the dog stood. She sat beside it. The sheriff came out slow. You all right? Yes. You want someone to walk you home? No. You sure? I've been walking alone a long time. He nodded. The attorney stepped outside next. You think they'll convict? They already did, she said. You said his name twice. I had to. Why? Once for the truth, once for the end. The sheriff said, You ready to let it go? She looked up at the sky, blue, wide, still. No, she said, but I'm done carrying it. She stood, walked across the street. The dog followed. The wind changed, and no one, not even the sheriff, said his name again. 1,100 words. This concludes the final chapter. Let me know if you want the full compiled version or a series summary for upload formatting.